Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the first episode of HarmonySecret the series. The episode begins with a significant event at the Greater Tower, the official announcement of an auction for the Greater Duty concession, attracting major business figures. At the center of this event are two powerful business leaders, Nathakorn and Atawit. Both have appointed their daughters as key representatives of their respective companies to oversee the bidding process. This decision intrigues the media and the corporate world, sparking comparisons and speculation. During a press conference, reporters inquire about the daughters' backgrounds, qualifications, and their roles within their father's companies. Maivika, daughter of Nathakorn, is a strategic and composed businesswoman with a master's degree from an elite university. She worked behind the scenes, driving her company's rapid growth, and is known for her analytical mind and adaptability. Now entrusted with leading the Greater Duty concession bid, she steps into the public eye, determined to prove herself. On the other hand, Aiwarin, daughter of Atawit, is bold, charismatic, and decisive. Unlike Maivika, she has been actively involved in public business dealings, excelling in negotiation and leadership. With her father's trust, she is ready to compete fiercely in the high-stakes bidding war, making her a formidable rival to Maivika. When Maivika and Aiwarin meet, an undeniable undercurrent of competition fills the air. Their handshake is firm, their gazes locked in silent assessment, a moment that hints at both rivalry and potential alliance, setting the stage for a high-stakes business showdown. As they formally introduce themselves, Maivika is acknowledged as the heiress of Superior Group, while Aiwarin is known as the heiress of Arena Group. With the weight of their powerful legacies behind them, the tension between them is palpable. For Maivika, she already knew that Aiwarin was a charismatic woman, but meeting her in person was something completely different from seeing her in photos and videos. Her presence was even more brilliant and captivating live. Competing against someone like that at an auction could be intimidating for a beginner like her, but that didn't mean she would give up. Later, while Maivika was standing and gazing at the outside atmosphere, observing the growth of her company, Aiwarin caught sight of her from a distance. Without hesitation, she walked toward Maivika. Aiwarin breaks the silence with a poised remark. "Even though we just shook hands, you do understand that we are business rivals, right?" Without hesitation, Maivika meets her gaze with a composed smile and replies, "Of course, I understand very well. But that doesn't mean we have to be enemies, does it?" She then pauses briefly, allowing her words to settle before adding, "That depends on what happens next." Her response is confident yet ambiguous, leaving Aiwarin to ponder its meaning. As the conversation lingers in the air, Maivika flashes a knowing smile, one that is neither too warm nor too distant. It is a smile filled with quiet anticipation, signaling that this rivalry is only just beginning. Then, Aiwarin tilts her head slightly and says, "When you say team, are you referring to your father?" Maivika frowns slightly. "What do you mean by that?" Aiwarin smirks. "Like the call you made before you came in here. It seems like you don't really want to compete with me." With a teasing smile, Aiwarin continues, "You mentioned someone experienced, skilled, famous, and very nice. It sounded like you were trying to avoid competing with that person." Maivika's eyes widen slightly in shock. "I wasn't eavesdropping," Aiwarin adds, her voice light yet deliberate. "I was just there, and so were you." Before Maivika can react, she moves quickly, stepping forward. Maivika takes an instinctive step back and, before she realizes it, ends up bumping into Aiwarin. Leaning in slightly, Aiwarin murmurs, "You should be more careful." "But you're lucky. It was me who heard it." Her gaze sharp, Aiwarin smirks. "So, who was this person?" Maivika's expression shifts, displeased with Iwarin's persistence. She turns to leave, but Iwarin takes a half step forward, blocking her path. For a moment, time stands still. Their eyes meet in an unspoken challenge. Then Iwarin, her voice smooth yet firm, says, "If you were talking about someone else, I don't care. But if it was me, well, I'm glad to know that you didn't want to compete with me." A pause. "But now you have no choice." Maevika straightens, her expression resolute. "Now, I want to compete with you, Iwarin." Iwarin watches her carefully before finally smiling. She had suspected it all along. The person Maevika had mentioned on the phone was her. With a smirk, Iwarin responds, "All right, I'll compete with you in the auction, but nothing else." Days later, Maevika was at a bar, enjoying a night out with her close friends. The music pulsed around them as she danced, lost in the moment, until she saw Carwyn, her ex-boyfriend, the one who refused to accept their breakup. Somehow, he had found her here at the bar, tracking her through a careless social media check-in by one of her friends. Panic surged through her. She turned on her heel and hurried toward the exit, but as she moved, she felt it. Carwyn was following her. Suddenly, a woman grabbed her and pulled her close. Before Maevika could react, the woman pressed in, faking an intimate moment between them. From Cowan's perspective, it must have looked like a deep, passionate kiss. He stopped in his tracks, but he never saw Maevika. After a moment, he turned and left. The woman who had just saved her was Iwarin. As soon as Cowan disappeared, Iwarin leaned back slightly, studying Maevika with a teasing glint in her eyes. "Are you running from him?" she asked, her voice low and knowing. Maevika swallowed, still catching her breath. "He's my ex. He won't leave me alone." Iwarin took her hand. "Come with me." She led Maevika to her own bar. Inside Anthea Bar, the atmosphere was warm, inviting. They stood by the railing, sipping wine as they watched the crowd. After a moment, Iwarin spoke. "Out of all my businesses, this place is my favorite," she said. "Every time I come here, I feel like I can just be myself. I don't have to care what anyone thinks. The people here, they're like me. We like the same things." Maevika smirked. "Like what? Like women?" Iwarin turned to her, unbothered. "Yes. Is that new to hear?" Maevika blinked, surprised. She then smiled softly. "Not strange, just unexpected." "Good. I don't hide it, but I don't announce it to the world either." Then Iwarin's gaze flickered to the window. "He's still out there, isn't he?" Maevika followed her line of sight. Cowan stood outside, pacing the sidewalk, his presence like an unwanted shadow. "Probably," she muttered. Iwarin set down her glass and turned to her with a mischievous glint. "Then let's give him a reason to leave." Maevika raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Let's pretend we're together, a little show to shake him off." Maevika hesitated. Then slowly, she nodded. As they left Anthea Bar, Iwarin wrapped an arm around Maevika's waist, guiding her toward the car. When they got inside, Iwarin spotted Cowan walking by. Without thinking, she acted. She pulled Maevika down, their faces inches apart. Maevika gasped softly, startled by the sudden closeness. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. From a distance, Cowan stopped. His eyes narrowed as he recognized Iwarin. A flicker of suspicion crossed his face before he turned and walked away. He never saw Maevika. For Iwarin, the moment stretched. Her nose brushed against Maevika's, a teasing gesture that could easily be mistaken for a kiss. Maevika stiffened, her breath catching, every nerve suddenly hyper-aware. She couldn't hold back anymore. Then, in a whisper, Aaron asked, "Can I kiss you for real?" The words sent a shiver through Maevika. Before she could answer, Iwarin closed the distance, her lips pressing against Maevika's. What started as a pretense melted into something real. The kiss deepened, unguarded, electric. Then, too soon, Maevika's hand accidentally hit the car door, jolting them apart. The spell broke, and reality settled back in. Cowan was gone. Iwarin let out a small smirk, stepping out of the car. Before she left, she looked back at Maivika and murmured, "That wasn't just for him, was it?" Maivika's face burned. She didn't answer. Instead, she started the car and drove off. But long after Irene had disappeared into the night, her kiss lingered, leaving Maivika questioning everything she thought she knew about herself. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.